He stands 64 inches tall, weighing in at 184 pounds, fighting out of Auckland, New Zealand, by way of Lagos, Nigeria, presenting the reigning, defending, undisputed UFC middleweight champion of the world, Israel the Lifestyle Bender Adesanya!
It's UFC 305 Fight Week. Israel Adesanya bids to become the UFC middleweight champion for the third time when he takes on Dricus du Plessis in the main event. What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to take a look at some of the techniques and tactics employed by the last style bender throughout his mixed martial arts career. More specifically, we'll look at his use of feints and fakes. Before we do that, I have one small favour to ask. Your engagement helps to build channels like these. If you could do me a favour and like the video, subscribe to the channel, get involved with our community in the comment section below, I would be very grateful. So let's get into it. What's the difference between a feint and a fake? A feint is when you show your opponent the first 10% of a strike in order to get a read on their reaction. A small twitch of your shoulder or your hip, usually a very sharp, fast twitch motion. A fake is when you throw a strike almost completely, but without the intention to land it. The fake draws a bigger reaction, and you immediately follow with an alternative strike. Adesanya is probably the greatest exponent of feints and fakes in the UFC today and has built a long and successful career, in part due to his ability to lead the dance inside the octagon. His unique style has helped him become one of the most elusive fighters in the world of mixed martial arts, frustrating numerous opponents, and for the most part dominating the UFC's 185-pound division over the bulk of the past 6 years. Adesanya began training in kickboxing at the age of 18, after being inspired by the Muay Thai film Ong Bak. He amassed a 32-0 amateur kickboxing record before turning professional. Between 2010 and 2017, he amassed a 75-5 professional record between kickboxing and Muay Thai, winning the King in the Ring tournament 3 times. He twice lost out on the Glory kickboxing world title at the final hurdle, losing a controversial decision to Jason Wilness, then being knocked out by Alex Pereira, both in early 2017, before switching his attention fully to professional mixed martial arts. After winning his first 11 MMA bouts, he signed with the UFC in 2018. Making his debut against Rob Wilkinson at UFC 221 in Perth, Western Australia. A 6-fight winning streak, including an epic 5-round war with Kelvin Gastelum for the interim title, brought him to a title shot against Robert Whittaker at UFC 243 in 2019. He knocked Whittaker out in the second round to claim the title. He cleaned out the middleweight division over the following 3 years, defending his title against Yoel Romero, Paulo Costa, Marvin Vettori, Robert Whittaker, again, and Jared Cannonier, before losing his belt late in 2022 after a controversial stoppage loss to his old Glory kickboxing rival Alex Pereira at UFC 281. He bounced back in spectacular fashion just 4 months later, knocking out his arch nemesis in an immediate rematch to become the middleweight champ once again. In September 2023, he suffered a surprising defeat at the hands of Sean Strickland, which cost him his belt. His performance against Strickland was very subpar, and there were parallels with previous champs such as Anderson Silva and George St. Pierre. And he seemed almost relieved to be freed from the pressures that being a long-term UFC champion can bring. He returns this weekend after an 11-month absence to take on Dricus du Plessis for the title at UFC 305 in Perth. Time will tell if the 35-year-old still has the drive and motivation to get back to the pinnacle of the middleweight division. One of the hallmarks of Adesanya's UFC career has been his exceptional ability to manage the distance in the striking ranges. At 6'4" and with an 80-inch reach, Adesanya is built to excel at long range. He has had an average height advantage of 3.1 inches over his middleweight opponents in the UFC to date, and an average reach advantage of 4.6 inches. Aside from his physical makeup, one of the primary factors in this elite level ability to control the distance is his constant use of feints and fakes. Adesanya is never passive in the in-between phases of the striking exchanges. He's always giving his opponents something to react to by feinting a variety of strikes. He has a selection of ways that he likes to do this, and there are a multitude of reasons behind this approach. First up, he's trying to get a read on how his opponent reacts. Whether they lift their guard, lean to one side, or slide backwards, this helps him decide how he is going to attack. We can see an example here as he causes his opponent to lean off the center line before throwing a high kick. He uses partially thrown strikes to fill the space and deter his opponent from pressing forward. As Israel is a high-level striker, the most basic path to success for his opponents would be to implement their wrestling. The fakes Adesanya throws makes it difficult for his opponents to begin wrestling attacks off the front foot. The constant feints and fakes mean they spend their time reacting to Adesanya rather than being proactive. And it becomes very difficult from there to close the distance. We've seen examples of how some fighters get frustrated and charge forward to be met with a devastating counterstrike. He uses feints to close distance and move his opponents backwards. Adesanya is far more comfortable fighting moving forward than he is fighting off the back foot. He can feint a frontside strike, such as a jab or an outside leg kick, or he can use the hip twitch off the rear side to fake a leg kick. He uses these to incrementally slide forward into better striking position. Adesanya positions his lead hand very low. This makes his jab more difficult to read, as it's initiating from the outskirts of his opponent's peripheral vision. We can see how he uses his shoulder to feint the jab and draw a reaction. This up jab is also a narrower weapon that splits the guard better than a horizontal jab, as you don't need to rotate the shoulder when throwing it. He's equally adept at fighting from both stances. This makes it easier to use fakes to shift forward and close the distance, or to use the same switch while retreating. All of these elements combine to help Adesanya become a very difficult fighter to read. He's proven time and time again that he is streets ahead of a lot of the other middleweights in the UFC. It's going to be interesting to see whether he has enough motivation left inside him to sustain another period attempting to rule the roost at the top of the 185-pound division. That's all for today, guys. If you like the topic of fakes and feints in the striking exchanges, you should check out my recent video on Sugar Sean O'Malley, one of the other great strikers in the UFC. Let me know in the comments section below who you think are the best strikers in the promotion at the moment and in the world of MMA in general, and also who you would like to see me break down next on this channel. Thanks for watching, see you next time.